It's May 24th, 1971, in New Delhi. The local news cycle is dead quiet. Reporters are lounging, waiting for something to happen. And then, a phone rings. A local bank has just been taken for a massive fortune, but there were no guns, no masks, and no getaway cars. The entire heist was pulled off with a single phone call. To understand the panic, look at this chart of the stolen currency's value. 60 lakh rupees might not sound earth-shattering right now, but watch how the 1971 value scales up to modern inflation. Today, that exact sum is worth well over 20 crores. The target was the Parliament Street branch of the State Bank of India. Chief Cashier Ved Prakash Malhotra picked up the phone and heard the voice of P.N. Hoxar, the Prime Minister's principal secretary. Hoxar told him to hold the line for the Prime Minister herself. When Indira Gandhi came on the phone, she demanded an immediate, highly classified withdrawal of 60 lakh rupees. When the Prime Minister asks for cash, you don't exactly say no. Gandhi gave Malhotra a strict covert handover protocol. He was to pack the money into a trunk, drive himself to a specific location, and wait for a courier. To verify the courier's identity, the stranger would say Bangladesh ka babu, and Malhotra was to reply, bar at law. Malhotra grabbed a bank car, drove to the rendezvous point, and met a tall, fair-skinned stranger who introduced himself as Rustam Sorab Nagarwala. The two men exchanged their secret codes perfectly. When Malhotra asked for a receipt to document the withdrawal, Nagarwala casually told him that the Prime Minister would give him a cash voucher personally back at her office. Let the absurdity of this sink in for a second. A senior, highly experienced bank official walked out of a vault with a fortune, drove out into the city, and handed an unmarked trunk of cash to a complete stranger. He did all of this based entirely on a voice he heard over a telephone line. Malhotra drove straight to the Parliament building to get his receipt. But when he finally tracked down P.N. Hoxar, the secretary was completely confused. He had never made that phone call, and the Prime Minister wasn't even in the building. Panic set in. Malhotra had been scammed, and he rushed to the nearest police station to file an FIR. The police mobilized immediately, under the command of Officer D.K. Kashyap. It was a race for time. Kashyap's team managed to track down the exact taxi driver who had picked up Nagarwala. From there, they followed a breadcrumb trail of multiple different cabs across Delhi as the suspect tried to shake any potential tails. Within hours, the police raided a Parsi dharamshala and caught Nagarwala red-handed with the cash. They recorded an in-camera confession. The very next day, Nagarwala stood before a judge. The entire trial lasted a grand total of 10 minutes. The judge handed down a 4-year rigorous imprisonment sentence, and Nagarwala was shipped off to jail. 3 days. That is all it took from the moment the phone rang to the moment the cell door slammed shut. It was a solve rate that seemed too clean to be true, leaving seasoned reporters wondering if they were seeing a triumph of justice or a carefully managed performance. Sitting in his cell, Nagarwala realized he was being completely isolated. He refused to go down quietly. He filed an official petition to reopen the case and demanded a different judge. He sent a message to the editor of Current magazine, telling him to come to the prison because he had a massive story to tell. Right as Nagarwala started making noise, people started dying. D.K. Kashyap, the lead detective who personally tracked down the cash and recorded the confession, was killed in a highly suspicious car crash. Then Nagarwala himself mysteriously fell ill inside Tihar jail. He was transferred to a hospital. On March 2nd, exactly on his birthday, he ate his lunch. 15 minutes later, he collapsed. Doctors pronounced him dead almost immediately. With those 2 deaths, the investigation hit a brick wall. The only person who knew exactly what happened in the bank and the only detective who saw the raw evidence were both permanently silenced. The physical truth of the handover vanished with them. One death could be a tragic accident, into an active, lethal cover-up. Once you stop looking at the police narrative and start looking at the physical evidence, the official story collapses. Take the phone call. The police claimed Nagarwala flawlessly mimicked Indira Gandhi's voice, but Nagarwala suffered from facial paralysis. He struggled to speak normally, making it physically impossible for him to perfectly imitate a woman's voice over a phone line. Then look at his behavior during the escape. After securing the cash, Nagarwala didn't vanish. He loudly told a taxi driver he was taking the money to Bangladesh. He overpaid his drivers with 500 rupee tips and repeatedly switched cars in plain sight. These are the deliberate actions of a man dropping breadcrumbs so his handlers can follow him, not a thief trying to disappear. Nagarwala's background suggests a different set of skills. He was a retired military officer and an intelligence conduit, often seen carrying a licensed modern firearm and a walkie-talkie, tools of a state middleman. Even cashier Malhotra's actions make sense under this light. Malhotra was the honorary treasurer of the Prime Minister's Relief Fund. He was a frequent visitor to the PM's residence. Handing over large sums of state cash to military conduits using code words was likely a standard, off-the-books routine for him. The date of the handover, May 24th, aligns with a massive escalation at the border. Exactly 10,000 Mukti Bahini rebel fighters were amassing under the command of Tiger Siddiqui. They were in desperate, immediate need of arms and ammunition to fight a covert war. This evidence suggests we're looking at a classified Black Ops logistics drop that went public by mistake. When the details are stacked together, the heist narrative strains under the weight for the much more plausible scenario, a covert arms funding mission. The 60 lakh withdrawal was an illegal, state-sanctioned operation to funnel proxy war funds across the border. It only blew up in the government's face because the mission was abruptly aborted, and Malhotra panicked. Instead of contacting his intelligence handlers, he accidentally exposed the entire shadow operation to the local police. The Indian government was suddenly facing a massive international crisis. If the global community realized they were covertly funding a rebel army, the diplomatic fallout would be catastrophic. They had to orchestrate a cover-up instantly. So they framed their own intelligence conduit as a lone wolf mastermind. The hypocrisy in the aftermath is staggering. Nagarwala, the loyal soldier who took the fall, ended up dead in a hospital bed. Meanwhile, Malhotra, the cashier who handed over 60 lakh to a stranger, walked away completely unpunished. Later, he was even rewarded with a highly lucrative position as chief accounts officer in Sanjay Gandhi's company. Decades have passed. Successive governments, including the Reddy Commission, have tried to untangle the mess, but the absolute truth remains buried. The exact person who gave the final order to burn Nagarwala has never been officially identified. The 72-hour trial of Rustom Nagarwala stands as a flawless execution of state preservation. It proves that when geopolitical secrets are at risk, the machinery of justice can be weaponized in minutes, and the individuals caught in the gears are entirely disposable.